Thanks for staying with us. Now, as government prepares to launch the second phase of the anti-galamsey fight, defiant people continue to ravage the environment. They are so determined they undertake the activity at night. 4 people, one of them with partial visual impairment, are in police grips in the Ashanti region. The Bosomtwe District's command picked them up in a special operation by the local assembly. Ohiming Teria reports.
An early Monday soup at Amekom and Beposo led to the arrest of the suspects. They are 22-year-old Kwakwabwa, Kojoamankwa 55, Yaopoku 45 and Sophia Salifu. Police seized water pumping machines, chamfine machine engines and other equipment during the operation. Officials of the Bosomtwe District Assembly say thousands of hectares of farmland are under siege. In spite of the ban, illegal mining continues at Amekum, Niposo, Aduapin and other communities. The miners use excavators and other equipment to undertake their activities at night, despite reports of mass withdrawal of such tools. It makes it difficult for security agencies to track the perpetrators. A joint police team from the Regional Special Weapons and Tactics Unit and Asokwa Divisional Police Command, however, made headway in the latest swoop. District Chief Executive Joseph Asumin led the operation. He tells JoyNews the rate of environmental degradation caused by illegal miners is devastating.
You have to do serious reclamation of the land. It's deep. There's so much environmental degradation. It's more or less, it can be used for anything until we have to do serious reclamation. It's quite true because they operate in the dark. They operate behind everybody. On our brand side, they operate in the night when everybody is asleep. So what we have to do is also come back and then strategize to get to them. But we have to do it based on intelligence.
Mr. Asumin says lives are under threat as peace left uncovered have become death traps.
People can easily fall into them, especially the kids. So they are death traps. They are now in police custody, and I hope that the police will put them before court. We are all waiting for the court to do its work. So we are hoping for so that it will serve as deterrent to others who intend to engage in such illegal activities to degrade our environment.
One of the suspects, 55-year-old partially blind Kojoamankwa, quit farming years ago to engage in the illegality at Beposo. He tells me he makes at least 30 Ghana cedis daily from illegal mining.
We have been farming all our lives. Someone set my farm on fire last year. It is now under rehabilitation. I shouldn't be doing galamsey at my age. It is the alternative means of livelihood.
Kojo says though he's aware of the ban on illegal mining, he thought it applies only to Chinese nationals.
It's not that we are daring government. We thought the ban was restricted only to the Chinese, especially those who do alluvial mining. We are not being defiant. Who are we to challenge government?
DCE, Mr. Asumin says the Assembly will continue the relentless fight on illegal mining. From the Bosomtwe District in the Ashanti Region for JoyNews, Ohiming Teria reporting.
Now, Ohiming's story from the Ashanti Region says it all, really. In fact, Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Benito Owusu-Bio admitted to me that there are still people in the pits, especially at night, and it will take a greater security efforts to root them out. But in the face of no clear alternative for people and communities who depend on illegal mining, like you heard Kojoamankwa say in that report, can you really blame these people for going back to the pits? In fact, there are concerns that if galamsey operators do not have any other way to feed themselves and their families, they are likely to resort to crime, which will make these communities and our nation insecure. Now, we don't want that, do we? To better help us appreciate this challenge and work out the solutions, we've been joined in the studios by Captain Retired Ebenezer Budu Kumsen. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So let's begin the discussion by looking at what the president had to say yesterday. He was saying that he would be willing to sacrifice his presidency if need be to tackle the problem. Let's hear President Akufo-Addo.
We established this committee within the government to design a policy for us, not just to stop it, to reclaim the land, to let our rivers work again, but also to see how we can figure a way for all these able-bodied young men who are involved in this activity to find an alternative livelihood. So it's a package. It's a package that we have designed to try and bring this menace to a conclusion. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
So that was President Akufo-Addo speaking to a gathering of traditional leaders yesterday at a forum organized by the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Now, so Captain, let me come to you now. The president has described a package, a complete package that government wants to roll out. Reclamation of land, of course, getting the operators out of the pits first, reclamation of land, alternative livelihood, the whole gamut. But we saw this begin really with an announcement of a ban on illegal mining and even legal small-scale mining. And then we saw the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources go around to ensure that these operators have left the sites. From a security point of view, looking at the issues we are facing now, would you say this was the best way to begin the campaign against Galamsey?
Well, well, thank you and good morning to our listeners. I would not hazard to say whether it's the best way or not the best way, but we heard the president say that it's a package, right? And so therefore, I would want to hear both sides of the package. At the moment, it looks like more emphasis has been laid on the first part of the package, which is the closing of the pits, chasing of the operators out of the areas and these things. And I think it's high time we started highlighting the other side of the package, or the other blocks or factors, segments of the package. I think we have to start highlighting there, because otherwise they either, you see, nature abhors a vacuum space. They will move into other areas. And I'm just coming from a tour of the 3 northern regions, and I'll touch on that. They will start moving either into other areas to do Galamsey, or into other areas to do other things. And so therefore, there is the need to start accenting the other parts of the package that will accommodate or start absorbing these people. Otherwise, we could have a national security issue.
Throw some more light on the national security aspects of this for us, please.
Well, like I said, I just came from a tour of the 3 northern regions, and luckily in parts of the regions it's not that pronounced, but the youth in Nagai in the Upper East region actually picked up arms and resisted the Galamsey operators from going into that place. That in itself is an issue. It could develop or degenerate into open conflict. So these are some of the things. Now, there is a marked increase in Galamsey activities, marked increase.
Even after the ban?
Yes, in the Upper West region. They are migrating. They are migrating, so that as we speak, I just had a chat with the operators there, and there is actually operations on the way to contain them in the Upper West region, because there is a serious marked increase, to the extent that these operators are even trying to dam the black water, which is serious, you know, and it's a whole military or security operation from the Zomoro to the Dwabosu area, polluting the environment and actually threatening to dam the river. So they could migrate. This is a simple migration from this location to the next location. But what about if they migrated from this business to another business? And I dare say that we are seeing also a tick or a marked increase in the activities of land guards.
Okay.
I think you've heard it, and you might also have heard it. There is an increase in the activities of land guards, and it leads to violence. These operators, some of them had weapons and all sorts of things. So it is very, very important that the total package is addressed, not emphasis too much on one side, and the other side is lethargic or comes a bit in status.
Captain, this is very interesting, because I was thinking we were going to be talking a lot about young men without jobs, but it seems like from what you were describing in Nadai in the Upper East region, even communities which do not want Galamsey to go on there could gang up, and we could have, I dare say, the accounts will say, Manu da Sumnado, the issue of the Inshobwase happening to visitors who would be coming in. Now, what ways do you think these communities are using, apart from Nadai? Because you're also talking about the Upper West region, where they are trying to prevent movement of Galamsey operators in there. Do you think they're using official means? Or?
Yes, it's official. I mean, in the Upper West region, it's actually a typical security operation, where, as we speak, I think the local authorities with the security agencies and the airborne force, which is stationed in Upper, is actually mounting proper operations. It is that bad that they have to mount proper operations, proper military operations to confront them. You know, but the Nchirabwase example may be an example in the inverse, because the Nchirabwase, they actually went after the officer because the officer was threatening them to stop them from doing these things. But if it was the inverse, also to stop Galamseyers, maybe it would be a 1-1 draw.
That is, of course, it's still a very serious issue. But so even Galamsey moving into communities, because we find that wherever things like this go on, itinerant crimes also occur. For sure. Yeah, and that could also spread it across the nation. It's also something worth looking at. Do we have a good enough security setup in these parts of the country to deal with things like this?
Well, security overall in Ghana, I should say that it's adequate. But you see, they tend to be more in the remote areas, and that is the problem. They don't come into the cities. So it is stretching now our security forces. It is going to stretch our security forces. We should have no doubt about that. And it is going to be a challenge. Okay. It is going to be a challenge.
So now let's talk a bit about these young people. I remember in doing some interviews in some communities in the Western region where they are saying that, look, the former Galamseyers are trying to go back and fish. Some of them have left, yes, because they are living in communities where fishing used to go on. That's what their ancestors used to do. Now they are going to try and go back and fish, but you know the money is not as much as they will be getting from Galamsey. And some of them have left the community to go and look for something else to do. I don't know if they are the ones who have been relocating, but they would have to find something else to do. Are we in any danger of seeing these people going into something illegal?
Oh, sure. That danger is very well there, and that's what we are talking about, the total package. The other segments in the package should be accented now. I mean, should be activated now to take those who will take up the call to quit and come in. Otherwise, we say the devil finds hand work for the idle hand. And these guys in Galamsey, I guess, go to the villages and they've got money. They've seen money. And so now, if they are out of job, you've taken their livelihood from them, and they even go into this fishing and whatever it is going to be a challenge. Worse still if they have nothing at all to do. And they are able-bodied, you know, and that is the threat. Then it's a national security threat. That compounds the problem of our inability even to get jobs for normal people finishing school. You know, some time ago I made a speech and said Ghana is not a time bomb, and I was critically taken to the cleaners, but I meant a time bomb in this instance, not that we're going to detonate a bomb, but when you have young, able-bodied, educated people, unemployed, and their minds are working well, sometimes they even know the IT systems better than we do, then you are programming a problem. They have to survive. Survival is a natural instinct given by God. They have to survive fair or foul. The challenge of government is to find them the fair. If you don't, they will find the foul. And our history or our record in finding the fair for our young hasn't been much to write home about. That's a problem.
Yeah, I've put questions like this to persons in authority before. What I often hear is, look, the cost of illegal mining to our environment, it is worth us cutting it now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so that, you know, it's a price we may have to pay. But do we have that time? Can we look at, can we handle what may happen?
As for the cutting, we have to cut. You just have to fly around or drive around to see the damage. I mean, I don't think we've actually quantified the threat, the existential threat to this country of this activity. I think we need to be sensitized more to that, to see that it is not an option. We have to do it. But in doing it, you can't do it in isolation. We should at least plan and try to contain the fallout of it. There's no question we have to cut. But how do we contain the fallout from the cut? That is the challenge.
So if you were going to suggest something to put in this package, what would come to mind immediately? Someone who has been working in a pit like this for so long. I know, of course, that may not be your line, but what would you think of?
Well, luckily you said that would not be my line. The package before the whole thing was even launched, there must have been some thought that went into it. That what could we offer, like reforestation. That is something that will take a lot of personnel. But whether it will pay as much as what they were earning, but at least it's something. Reclaiming the lands, covering the pits, using the same energy and the machines. That's also another activity. Getting other labor-intensive initiatives that will absorb this force coming, being followed. That will be another alternative. But honestly, I think the other segments in the package, that is the jobs or the opportunities to absorb these people, is not being accented enough. We should be told more about the initiatives, and it should be given more attention.
I've spoken with the minister on this platform. The minister in charge of lands, forestry, and natural resources is referred to a launch close to the end of this month. Yeah, where we would have more understanding. But I do agree.
Well, we will have more understanding. So now we don't have the understanding.
Oh, exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. That I agree with you as someone who works with information, that with what is inside the plan, we do not have enough information to properly look at, for instance, what are the jobs these young men are going to do, and how is this going to support them compared to something like Galamsey, which we all know was something that supported them so much. But from now till then, when we are going to see this rollout, because this is going to be a 5-year plan, how do we prevent this situation from deteriorating? How do we maintain, the calm that we are seeing now and prevent issues like Nadai and the Upper West region?
Well, it's, the security agencies have to be proactive. Very often we are too reactive. They have to be on the ground to anticipate where there could be possible conflicts to contain them. At the same time, I would suggest that, I would think that the regional and district political masters are also discussing these things to find out if it's in my region and we are closing this avenue for the young ones in my region or my district, what other opportunities can I possibly give them? It has to be a multi-agency collaboration. The district administrators, chief executives, and the regional chief executives should not be left on their own to come out. It has to be an interagency, multidisciplined type of approach, because there would be limited capacity in those local areas to absorb them. So therefore, I would plead for urgent multi-agency, multidiscipline consultation. And in that instance, I think we don't do too well. We don't do too well in this multi-agency collaborations. That's my opinion. As a people or country, we don't do too well. And then again comes into play what me, in my corporate experience, has experienced, that plans, we are very good at doing plans. But when it comes to implementation, we are quite poor. Even in the civil sector, even in the private sector. What's more in government sector? You understand? So we really have to lift our act and be more up and doing in these things. Now,
I'll have to let us end with this particular before your final words. You know, in Ghana generally, when you look at trust that the citizenry have for security, it's not the best. Not every citizen feels so confident in the average security official that they see. Looking at the way that the security officials have to be proactive, like you were mentioning, how do they, make sure that they are on the ground in the community to pick up information, to prevent some of the things that happen?
Well, security has different levels. There are those that you don't see, and the obvious ones that you see. And when I say proactive, I'm now referring more to those you don't see, more to those you don't see, and they are professionals. And I would say that that arm of the security should be improved. Because when we were children, I mean, those days you wouldn't even know who is a detective. When you hear there's a detective, you don't know who it is. But these days, like people tout, I'm national security, I am police CID. I mean, then you wonder what are we doing? That arm of the administration should be strengthened. The intelligence arm, the capacity to collect, analyze, anticipate. So very often we are taken by surprises by a lot of things, and I don't think we are doing too well in that category. But in the meantime, that's just what we can do. The security agencies, that's just what they can do. Be on the ground, collect information, anticipate, pass it on for the uniformed people also to contain, whilst hoping that whilst they are doing their part, our managers of state are also thinking right and up and doing fast enough, not meeting upon meeting upon meeting, that we go quick into execution of the plans that will be thought out.
Okay, your final words, sir.
Well, I see that the issue of Galamsey is not in doubt. It has to be closed. But I want us also to appreciate that it's a big national security issue. They are going to fight back, and you cannot underestimate them. And the first shot across the bow was when they lynched the army officer. It was obvious. They knew what they were doing. Before, they had even threatened to fight back. You remember?
Yes.
They threatened to fight back.
It's even resulted in a death of an official of Anglo Gold Ashanti.
Fine.
In Obuasi.
Fine. Now we are even hearing that even the minister's office has been backed. So you can't underestimate the seriousness.
And in some small communities, you find that there's some collusion with some security officials. So you found chiefs having to form militia to fight Galamsey officials and seize excavators, members of small-scale miners. So it's becoming more complicated to deal with it, isn't it?
Yeah, in the beginning, definitely we will have these. But I think now the security agencies and those lines are now quite clear. I don't think the security agencies now, even if there are rogue ones in there, police or the military, will have the courage empathize or facilitate these galamsey operators. But I think that section was a bit exaggerated. Oh. That the security agencies facilitating these galamseyers, I think it was exaggerated in the beginning. But even if it were so, at the moment, I don't think it's an issue that we should worry about. The security agencies, I guess, are absolutely clear what in their minds, what they are supposed to do. I hope they will get the resources they need to do what it is that we are asking them to do. And I also hope that the traditional rulers will also come on board, like the president was addressing them yesterday, because there was who gives them the land anyway? You know, and sometimes too, there are state operators, the people giving these licenses and all sorts of things. How do they go further to check? If you give somebody a license to prospect and he's now mining and you are sitting in your office, you don't care, you know, throwing out problems for other people to solve. And that's why I say that interagency collaboration is very poor. And state actors who out of either negligence or corruption or collusion are in the woodwork actually facilitating these things should also be filtered out and publicly exposed. Because
I was being asked by a friend, and this is in line with your thoughts that you're putting out. I was being asked by a friend, how come it seems we have not been able to point out any major Ghanaian who has been involved? I mean, at the level of someone like the famous Aisha Wang that everyone was talking about, this Chinese kingpin. Does it surprise you to an extent?
Well, I don't know that the major operators have not been identified. If you go to the Ashanti region, there are major operators there and they are known, and it's not up to me to come and mention their names here. But you see, that is the issue. Even these major operators are not being named publicly, but they are there, they are known. Someone with 40 excavators, 20 excavators, big concessions. You know, the thing is that we don't name and shame. We don't name and shame. And then you go on set and people don't mention names here. I mean, you can, you know, you presenters, you do that. You prevent people from even mentioning names.
I would mind if you mention the name here.
It's high time we actually gave the whole information, not part of the information. We, the public, invariably are starved of all the whole picture. We are given part of the picture, and I would advocate that we should give the whole information. If investigations have been done and somebody with 40 excavators, 20 excavators, that should make the front pages. You understand? And then even if it is legal or not legal, I mean, he's a big-time player. What are you doing in respect of those big-time guys taking the equipment to use and all these things? They may not even resist, but then you bring momentum and pressure on the whole thing so that everybody gets on board. But when people are always in the woodwork, always in the shadows,
it sort of fuels their resolve.
People, even if it doesn't fuel their resolve, it doesn't put that moral pressure on them to assist or help. You know.
Yeah, thank you very much, Captain Retired Very enlightening conversation there.